Gobe, the filter company, are bringing out a new range of their filters, and they very kindly sent me a set to test out. So while I'm in the Isle of Man, I don't know how me being in this different room proves I'm in the Isle of Man. While I'm in the Isle of Man, I thought being so close to the coast at any given moment, given that the island is tiny, it would be an ideal place to test out these new filters. I received a circular polarizer and a set of what I would consider sort of standard neutral density filters, so your ND2, 4, 16 and 64. And I also received a new filter by them, which I was most excited to try out and I loved the most, which is the ND1000. It's like a super duper neutral density filter. That is my very scientific explanation. So the ND1000 gives you the ability to shoot ridiculously long shutter speeds even in the midday sun. The creative opportunities that this can give you is absolutely awesome. I had loads of fun with this and I had lots of different opportunities to use it around the coast, and I'll show you some examples now. Some of these were shot quite literally at 40-second exposures and 30-second exposures. You know, it was insane given it was sort of midday. It might be a slightly overcast day, but it was still very bright, and I took some photos with and without the ND to show you, one, the difference, the different effects that you can get, and two, to show the difference in the camera settings. I love how if you do a long exposure with waves, you get this wispy, misty kind of abstract effect, and I think it works so well for adding a little bit of atmosphere to these images. For instance, if you compare this sort of jagged coastline with the frozen in time waves and the mist long exposure waves, I think the misty long exposure works so much better. So for creative purposes, the ND1000 I had a ball with. Some places where you wouldn't even think to stop a photograph suddenly become really intriguing. Another thing that I use the ND1000 for, which I've never used an ND filter for before but I always wanted to test, is at the jagged rocks there were the odd people walking around ruining my shots. How inconsiderate. And it's true that if you leave your long exposure going, as long as the person is moving, they basically disappear. So it's really handy, I'd imagine, if you were at, say, a busy place, like a busy tourist spot, like a building that doesn't move, and you wanted to get rid of the crowd, you could use this filter to just eliminate the people. Bang. Like Age of Ultron. Spoiler. So for creative purposes, the ND1000, I'm an absolute convert. I use this on my 9-18 Olympus, and also for the more zoomed in ones, I used the Maker 25mm 1.8. So really good for both focal lengths. And speaking of using these filters with different lenses, I got the 52mm set, but fear not. If you're new to filters, you might think that you have to buy different sizes for every single lens that you want to use it for, and you don't. You can buy what are called step-down rings. So the way to do this is buy the filter that will go onto your largest lens that you want to use it with. In my circumstances, it was 52, which is the native size for my 9-18 and a couple of others. However, I also have a lot of 49 thread lenses and also a lot of 37, which is dinky. That's the stock lens for the GX80. That's a really small front element, but it's a very handy sort of size to have a filter in because it covers a lot of focal length. So I bought some step down rings. I bought the 52 to 49 and then the 49 to 37, and now I can use this one set of filters, so you only have to buy it once, on tons of different lenses. Great value for money and a I mean, it's something that people have always done. It's just worth mentioning if you're new to filters, it will save you a bit of money. So the ND set outside of the ND1000, these filters are great for if you are doing long exposures, say at sunset, and you don't need the ND1000 strength. You could do an ND64 or an ND32. You could get the exact same sort of creative elements to the photograph. You just have to tailor the right amount of neutral density strength to the scene. The other thing that they will absolutely improve exponentially, oh, that was a big word, I'm proud, is your video quality. Because you want to keep your shutter speed relatively low when you shoot video, and on bright days that is a blooming struggle. So it enables you to keep your aperture low for creative reasons, and your shutter speed low as well. So you'll get much more cinematic video and you won't be stuck at sort of f16 for the entire day. You can use your wider apertures to get better effects for video. Circular polarizing filters. Everyone should have one, probably. If you're doing landscapes, I mean, if you're doing sort of portraits, you might not want one, but if you're doing landscapes of any description or travel photographs, I would highly recommend, wow, a circular polarizing filter. Look at these examples. Look how the water changes. You cannot replicate that in post-production, because the camera hasn't picked up that detail. You need the filter to make that detail appear to your camera. And look at the difference it makes. It's ridiculous. You wouldn't even think all that stuff was there. And I know it's not the most photogenic explanation, but just imagine you're in the Caribbean and there's coral underneath as opposed to seaweed and trolleys. And you can see so much more detail that you could never pull back in post if you didn't have the filter. On top of getting rid of reflections, the circular polarizers are fantastic for making the sky bluer and really bringing out those rich colours in the sky. Didn't get any photographs in the Isle of Man with this because it's a little bit cloudy. But here's some from my trip to Vegas and surrounding cool places that I used my circular polarizer constantly for, and you can see how much the skies pop and it makes a huge difference. I've used many different brands in the past, usually cheaper entry-level brands, and now I'm so happy that I finally have a set of Gobe filters that are actually really blooming good, because this is the issue you have with neutral density. It's sticking another element of glass in front of your lens and you will get terrible, horrible colour casts if you choose cheap, nasty filters. Sometimes you can fix it in post-production, sometimes it'll just look awful. So I don't recommend cheaping out on your filters. I'm not saying Gobe are incredibly expensive either, so don't let that put you off. Have a look at some of the packages they have. They're really, really cost effective for what you get, and there's no real colour cast. Here is the unedited photograph compared to one taken without any filter. The colour rendition is bloody brilliant, I think. I'm so impressed with the quality of these filters. Love them, love them, love them. They come really handily all stacked in a nice little pile, so you can add to your collection or take one out and leave the rest so both of the sides are covered and nothing will get scratched. I think it's such a really good way to carry the filters, and I'm sure other brands have done this, but I've never personally seen it before. Basically, if you buy enough of them, it takes the space of like one prime lens in your bag, and you could have all the filters that you'd ever need. You can carry them in the cute little pouch that comes with them, but I tend to just leave them as they are because it's just easier. So in terms of taking them out with you, it's super easy to just pick out the one that you want and stick it on your camera, and then you know the rest won't get scratched or anything. And the ethics of this company are adorable as well. They're a very environmentally conscious brand, and for every product that you buy they will plant X amount of trees for, which I just think is a lovely touch. Why not treat yourself to some extra camera gear and plant some trees at the same time? I think that's just gorgeous. So those are my thoughts on the Gobe filters. They come in all different shapes, well, not shapes, they all come in lens shapes, but different sizes. So as I said before, find out the largest lens that you want to use these with, and then buy some step down rings so that you can convert them to your other lenses and get the most value for money out of your filters. Whoa, the lights just changed. I look like a ghost. I miss my LED lights. I miss them. Anyway, if you have any questions about the Gobe filters or filters in general, do let me know below. If you have used the Gobe filters in the past, let me know your experience, because I think they're a fantastic brand. And thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you enjoyed the example photographs.